in just 2 days, there is a battle for the SEC West happening down in Tuscaloosa. College game day will be there, and this man will be coaching his team who has one loss on the season but has rattled off the last 6 in beautiful fashion. Harder than ever, Coach Nick Saban.
Yeah, Coach!
How you doing, guys?
Coach, massive game coming up here in a couple days, obviously. Every game's a massive game, especially if you're trying to win a national championship. Whenever that CFP Top 25 official one comes out for the first time this early in the season, how do you view it? How do you keep it from being a distraction? Do you use it as motivation? And how do you feel about it as a whole this early in the season, Coach?
Well, I kind of agree with AJ on this one. It really matters where you end up at the end in the last poll if you can get in the top 4. Well, the only way you can get in the top 4 is to play every game that you have remaining to the best of your ability. And the best way to do that is focus on the things that you need to do every day in practice to create the right habits, techniques, whatever you want to call it. So when you get in a game, you're not thinking about it. You're just out there playing hard and executing and doing what you need to do to help your team win. I think that's the most important thing to do at this stage in the season. So does the poll matter? Yeah, it matters, but it doesn't matter until the end. So wherever you're ranked now does not really matter. What matters is how do you finish and how do you finish the season? And that comes one play at a time.
Love that. Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, the one play at a time thing, it makes so much sense when you talk about that. You got to focus on what we need to get better at every single day. But how do you do that? Like, how do you keep your foot on the gas after all this time? It's a long season. We know that. Like, how do you do that every single day?
Not just the players, you too. You.
Yeah,
too.
Coaching staff as well.
I come up with try to do different things to get the players to pay attention. So like yesterday after practice, I said, I want everybody to put their hand over their ear because I don't want what I want to say to go in one ear and out the other.
Catch it and throw it back in. Got it.
So it was like the ultimate attention getter. Like, what is he going to say now? And I said the same thing I've been saying all week. So, but they listened. I don't know if they listened before, but I think they listened yesterday. So hopefully they're always trying to come up with a new way to try to get them to pay attention and not focus on the wrong things. And we live in a very outcome-oriented world right now. So to get people to stay focused on what you need to do to get the outcome is always challenging.
Well, I think they are listening, and I think they respect and appreciate the hell out of you. Here's your quarterback talking about your birthday on Tuesday on Halloween and what the best gift would be.
I think the biggest gift he wants is a win this week. we all know that. Yeah, we all know that in the locker room. But we all definitely gonna tell him happy birthday. He can old, but he still act young. That's the funny part. He do everything young, and then he a lot of fun though.
And Coach, we saw the reaction to the room whenever you walked into the team meeting room on your birthday. These players love you, Coach. And I know he said it. You're old. We won't say that. Okay, we won't say that. You're just hitting your prime right now. You're just hitting your prime. You're at the lake house this past weekend, having a birthday. I mean, you're just hitting your prime. But this far into it, how do you stay in a manner that is relatable enough to this generation and also still have the competitive stamina to want to build these relationships with all of your players? Is it just something like if you weren't doing it, you think you would pass away? Like, why do you think you're still able to do what you're doing at the level in which you're doing it?
I really like doing it. I think the sort of key to it all is, you want players to respect you. There was probably a time when, we all coached with a little bit more intimidation to create fear so people would do things the way we wanted because they were afraid not to. I know that's how it was when I played. But I think now, and I enjoy this so much more, is you really want players to respect you. So you're trying to teach a player to do something, and he sees that it makes him better. All right. So then he has a respect for you. And because he has this respect, he doesn't want to disappoint you. So you're helping him, but yet you've created a relationship with him that makes him want to do things at a high level for you on a consistent basis because you helped him get better. And I think that's my philosophy for the last 15, 20 years. I don't know. Makes coaching fun, and I think it makes it more fun for the players.
Let's talk about Jalen Milroe, and I love your mindset. He has gotten much better this season, I think, in our eyes. I don't know how it is being viewed at practice or by you and everything like that, but what have you seen from him, especially coming off the bye week, that makes you believe this is the best Milroe has been? And obviously this LSU team is going to be a very, very tough defense for your offense over there in Tuscaloosa.
There's no question about that. LSU's got really, really good players. They got a phenomenal offensive team, number one in the country in yards. Quarterback's fantastic. They got great skill guys. Defensively, they're really good up front. They've had some injuries in the secondary, but they play hard, and they do the things that I think that their team can do best. But from Jalen's standpoint, he's had a really good week. I think he's gaining more and more confidence, and he's also gaining the ability to stay focused on the next play and not get frustrated in terms of what happened on the last play, which staying in the moment is really the most important thing you have to do in games like this. You're not going to play a perfect game. You're not going to hit every throw. You got to learn from the last play, focus on the next play, do what you have to do to make that play work and not be affected by it. And that's one of the things that when you have an outcome-oriented sort of attitude, it would be simple. If I wanted to score 35 points in a basketball game, and that was my expectation going in, I played a really good game, but I only scored 15 points, I would be frustrated and disappointed, because as soon as you create this expectation for yourself, you're just setting yourself up to get frustrated if you don't reach that plateau. So Jalen has gotten better and better and better, in my opinion, at being able to play one play at a time and being able to stay focused. And even if he has a bad play, stay in the right mindset to execute the next play. Don't think you got to do something crazy because you messed up on the last play. So he's gotten better at that, and I think that's helped his consistency, but I also think his confidence is a lot better as well.
We've seen him laugh a lot. He has a magnetic laugh. I mean, his chuckle is,
Great personality.
You love it.
Yes, sir. I do.
And he's a hilarious dude. We were saying behind the scenes, boys love him.
Yeah, I think the players, he's got, lots of respect for, his teammates. And I think when you give respect, you get respect. And I think that's something that, this team has done a really good job of. We've got really good team chemistry, and they've showed a resiliency that, some of how do you respond to hard? We had a really good team last year, but if you look at it, when it got right down to the end of the Tennessee game or the end of LSU game, we didn't handle hard very well. And I think, if you want to be a really good team, you got to be able to handle hard well. I mean, when things get difficult, that's when you got to be able to stay focused and be relentless in how you go about doing your work.
Well, not only do you lose early in the season, you also bench quarterback early in the season. See how he responds. He comes back. And then first couple of games he's back, we're running the ball a bunch, and we're not really throwing. Then all of a sudden we open it up. It's like your team every single week. You're talking about resiliency and being tough and not folding and everything. It's like it's been fun to watch. Only two other one-loss teams ranked ahead of you in the CFP top 25, which matters, Coach. It matters. It certainly matters, Coach.
It does. One loss is different for different teams, but 2 losses is a killer in college football. So that's why we got to focus and try to finish, like we need to finish.
It's a big one this weekend, too. There's an interesting little inside story happening as well. Ty has a question for you.
Yeah, Coach, a lot is always made about when you're coaching against one of your former assistants, but with this weekend and Tommy Rees, now I doubt that you're really changing, the game plan too drastically or anything like that, but is there any advantages maybe that you guys have with him being a former player under Brian Kelly and coaching there and all that kind of firsthand knowledge that he has of what he likes to do? Or is that mostly just media fodder?
I think probably a little more media fodder because, when you actually do the scouting reports and, look at the film and do all the cut-ups, we've got probably 100 different cut-ups that we watch about things. They kind of get it, what we're doing. We kind of get it, what they're doing. So if you had any inside information, it probably wouldn't be much to add on to what you would learn, through the course of your preparation. But I know when we play against our former assistants, I always think they kind of know what we do. But I think the thing you got to be careful of is, players have confidence in what you're doing. So if you go into a big game and you make a lot of changes, in what you're doing, do they really think you have confidence in what you've been doing, or do they think you don't have confidence in them that they can do what they've been doing and still have a chance to win the game? And they start looking at you like, why are we doing all this stuff? So I think you got to be careful about that, but you want to technically do what you need to do to have a chance to be successful in any game, whether you're playing offense, defense, or special teams.
It's just another game. It's just another game. Now, we're changing first down, second down, and third down. It's just another game, though. Everybody stay calm. Coaches, you learn a lot about them in those moments. I assume none of those types of guys get hired at Alabama, I'd assume?
Yeah, you got to make your best decisions on game day, and it's no different for coaches. That comes from good preparation, knowing what to expect in certain situations, and hopefully you do the best thing that gives you the best opportunity to be successful, and try to minimize negative plays by good preparation in terms of recognizing what the other team's going to do, and have a chance to be in the right call to help take that away.
Some of these coaches, though, in those big moments, just lose their mind. It's awesome to watch. You see it unfolding, maybe in Pittsburgh. AJ has a question for you, Coach.
Coach, when you're game planning for any team, like how much are you catering and game planning towards their coordinators and their head coach, towards, compared to maybe the personnel that they have on the field? I know a lot of times if coaches will pull up clips from 6 years ago of, hey, this coordinator was over at a school I was at, and they ran a couple plays, and they'll pull things out like that. Are you actually game planning against coordinators and thinking about what they've done in the past, or more towards what they have on the field right now?
I think you want to do a little bit of both. You want to understand history, of what people have done. And I think that's one of the things that I always, and Chuck would probably agree with this, that when you're in the NFL, because there's 32 teams and you play the same teams quite often, you sort of develop this history on all the coordinators and the people that you're going to have to play against. And you kind of know what to expect because of this history. I think in college we probably do a little less of that, but we do it some. And you kind of see what parts of what they've done in the past fits with the players that they have now. And you see, and that's really what you have to, get your players to understand how you have to stop it. And what LSU does, man, that offensively, first of all, the quarterback is phenomenal.
So good.
He can run. He's a very good passer. He reads things. He's got great anticipation on where he's going to go with the ball. He's got really good skilled players outside. They got a good back. They got a good offensive line. They can run the ball downhill at you. But they're really running triple option in a lot of the, quarterback runs they have, zone read, arc, zone read, street. So they got a dive, they got a quarterback running, they got a guy running in the flat that can be the pitch man. So these things all complement, all the other things that they do. To answer your question, we're trying to focus on what they're doing now because that really is important in terms of the way they use their personnel, and they have really good personnel.
Yeah, Daniels is phenomenal to watch. He's only gotten better, too. Last year, he led the team in rushing and, obviously, passing in that overtime thriller. And on the defensive side, guy was 18 years old, Perkins, last year. Now he's 19. He's number 2 on the team in pass breakups. He leads them in sacks. Not as many splash plays as last year, but we got to prepare for him, or what are we thinking about with that LSU defense?
Yeah, well, number 4 is a really good player. I mean, this guy is dynamic in terms of his quickness, his burst, his acceleration, how fast he reacts to things. He's a good pass rusher. And, they use him out there in the apex some, almost like a star, and he's a great blitzer. But the guy makes an unbelievable amount of plays, unbelievable. And whatever they're asking him to do. And they've used him a lot of different ways. And he's been pretty good every time they've called on him. He's done a really good job wherever they put him.
He was awesome to learn about last year. So young. 6'1", 220. Seems to be all over the film all the time. You're in the NFL. You chatted about that. Last question here from Connor.
Yeah, Coach, a big conversation we were having last hour was about the Bill Belichick coaching tree, and you and him obviously are 2 of the all-time greatest, if not the 2 greatest coaches in your respective leagues. But why do you think that some guys leave those trees, whether it be Belichick or your own, and have success and not? Obviously, the guys that you coach with, with, Kirby, Sark, like they have a lot of success, whereas Bill's, coaching tree, also known as a bush because it's not, strong like a redwood, don't have as much success. Is there something where they're trying to kind of copy you or Bill, or they aren't being themselves? Why do you think that happens?
Well, I think probably, first of all, it starts with the fact that I think one of the most important things in the NFL, if you're going to build a good team, all right, is do you have people in the building that are in alignment? Okay, whether you're general manager, head coach, whatever it is, they're in alignment in terms of the kind of players you want to bring to the team and how you're going to use them, kind of people you want to bring to the team. All those things need to be in alignment. What Bill's always done a great job of, in my opinion, is he's always had everybody in the building is on the same page. In other words, they're all looking for the same things, same type of players. He defines just about everything for you in terms of what the expectation is for every position. We had critical factors for every position where everybody in the building knew what those were. And those are the kind of players that we were looking for. But he had control of that. Even when I went to Miami, it was hard to get everybody in the building on the same page because there's a lot of people that were there before, and you can't just hire whoever you want to hire in the NFL. You could say, okay, I want to hire these guys to get everybody in alignment, but that guy's on a contract with some other team, so you can't hire him. So it's much more difficult in the NFL in terms of you have a better opportunity in college to change your roster because we have free agency, basically, any player you can get from another team. And you can recruit as many players and do as good a job in recruiting as you choose to do to get players to your team. So I think it's a little different, in the NFL as opposed to, college. And I don't think it's a good comparison. But I do think Bill is one of the best coaches all time from the standpoint of very well organizes everybody in the organization, has everybody on the same page. And that's why he's had a lot of success on a consistent basis for a long time. So I learned a lot from him, and probably a lot of any success that we've had has been influenced dramatically by the time that I spent and the things that I learned from Bill Belichick.
That's great to hear, because a lot of the chatter right now is, it's not a tree, it's a bush. I mean, we actually made a graphic that said it's a bush because everybody's under 500 pretty much whenever they go on to coach in the NFL. You having the success that you've had is a massive ordeal because the whole chatter, and you said one of the greatest coaches of all time. We assume you are greatest of all coach of all time. You don't want to offend anybody, but like you two being able to talk at a level was probably something pretty special for you guys. Because there's a lot of you guys are on those two chairs.
Yeah, HBO.
With HBO with that thing, having that conversation. I couldn't even imagine what you two talk about. Is it all ball? Is it life? Handling, being a coach every single day? Being so jacked up to motivate and make other people better every single day at a level that nobody, like, what do you guys talk a lot? And how do those conversations go?
I think some of it is technical when we talk, technical being about certain things that you do in football, how you play a coverage, what you do. But a lot of it is philosophical in terms of maybe why people are doing what they're doing now or something that we're seeing that we didn't see before and how we manage in that situation. Just like I'll use sort of a crazy example, but like a lot of people are going for it on fourth down now. And they talk about analytics, saying that you got this percentage chance to make it on this down and distance on fourth down, so it's worth going for it. But what the analytics really don't tell you is what happens when you don't make it.
Well.
So those consequences are pretty significant, sometimes too, especially when you don't take field position into account. But that would be something that we could have a conversation about in terms of just how much do you go for it on fourth down? When do you go for it on fourth down? All that kind of stuff. So that's more of a philosophical thing to me, not a technical thing.
Okay. Well, I appreciate hearing that. And I love dropping myself into a phone call between you two because we have been saying something similar. Even if it's 80%, that's a good percentage. 80% is a good percentage.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Like in blackjack, I'm going for it all the time.
Sure.
I'm taking that shot. I'm doing that whole thing. But there's still a 20%. 20%'s a lot. Yeah. Depending upon what what's that, Merrill Hodge? Denominator. Depending on what the denominator is. I mean, that 20% could be thousands of times. This guy got fired. This guy got fired. They lost their season. They're not able to do that. That's a big number, too. I need to hear 100 or nothing or 99.1% to make my decision just strictly on that. Coach, is that not an accurate? Do you feel the same way, similar?
Well, I feel like the 20%, to use your analogy, that you don't make it, that's the same as a turnover, because you're actually giving the ball away just like you fumbled it. So what is the significance of a turnover in a game? You know, if you do a statistical analysis of a turnover in a game, it's probably about 3.5 points. That's the value of a turnover. So that 20% failure rate is probably equal to 3.5 points. And depending on where you do it on the field, especially if you do it in your own territory, it probably is significantly higher than that.
So then what's the stats for that?
Yeah.
You know, and then there's probably stats that are combating that particular stat. And it feels like stats are on everybody's team all the time. It's a wild time to be alive, but I certainly appreciate the fact that we get to chat with you every single week. And I think, I don't want to judge, you're still under the squat rack? You blew out the eye, you were, and then the eye.
You know what? I don't know what happened to the eye. It doesn't hurt. I'm totally baffled, you know, by what happened to the eye. But one other thing on the going for it on fourth down, it depends on your cats too, you know.
Yeah, they don't judge that there. Yeah.
Yeah, the analytics don't say what cat's doing it. Like I learned that lesson. My first coaching lesson was, and I won't bore you with this, but you know, we played Masontown Valley when I was in high school. I was a sophomore quarterback. I called the plays, and we're playing. You got to walk through the graveyard to get to the stadium. I mean, it's not a very nice place. And we get behind 18-0. Coach Keener was 8-time, like all coach of the year in the state of West Virginia and all that. So we come back 18-12. We get the ball in 2 minutes. We got 4th down and 12 on our own 25-yard line. And we use our last timeout. And I'm saying, thank God, because everybody, the last guy turned the lights out, you know, in the town where we grew up, because everybody went to the game. So I got guys standing behind the bench, you know, saying, you got to cover, you got to score again. I got to cover, because they're all betting on the game. I'm like 15 years old trying to handle all this and manage all this. So I walk over to the sidelines, and Coach Keener says to me, he used to call me Young Nicky. He said, what do you think we should do here? And I said, well, I think you should call this play. That's what I think. I didn't want to call the play. And he said, look, man, you got the best left halfback, you know, fastest guy in the state playing left halfback. You got a 3-time All-State guy playing split end. I don't care what play you call, but one of the two of them need to get the ball.
Smart, isn't it? Smart.
That was smart. So I called 26 crossfire pass on 4th down and 12, play action pass, fake it to the left halfback, and throw ex-post corner to the other guy, and we scored.
Oh, so scored, not just a first down. We got a touchdown. Yeah. Let's go, Coach. Yeah. Hey, good call. That's a good play call. I like the way you read your personnel and say, hey, listen, big moments make big stars. Big names are big names for a reason. Let's do that. 15 with bookies in West Virginia standing over your shoulder. Young Nicky, you've become legend Nicky, GOAT Nicky at this point, and we appreciate your time every week.
All right, man. I appreciate it. I have a lot of fun with you guys. Thanks. Have a good day, man.
Hell
See
yeah.
you later.
Hey, big one Saturday. Game day's in time. Let's go.
Rolling. Yeah, we're ready. All right. See you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Nick Saban.
He's out.
He's out. Yeah, way too long.
Yeah.